Two people, same diet, same calories, same effort. One stays lean, one carries belly fat that will not move. Most people blame genetics, but genetics is not the variable here. The variable is what is living inside their gut, 38 trillion bacteria, running a metabolic program you never knew existed. That program is either helping you burn belly fat right now or quietly building it. 7 habits determine which one yours is doing. And stay with me because habit number 2 is the one that will genuinely surprise you. Most people think it is a healthy choice. It is destroying the bacteria that burn belly fat. Silently. Every single day. Drop a comment right now. Do you regularly eat fermented foods or take probiotics? Why your gut decides your belly fat. Your gut is not just digesting food, it is producing hormones, neurotransmitters, metabolic compounds that directly regulate fat storage. 2 bacteria species matter most for belly fat specifically. Akkermansia muciniphila. Low levels are consistently associated with visceral fat accumulation. Bifidobacterium. Low levels are linked to higher insulin resistance and more belly fat. When these bacteria are thriving, they produce short-chain fatty acids. Those compounds reduce gut inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and directly signal fat cells to release stored fat. A study published in Nature found the following. Gut microbiome composition was significantly predictive of visceral fat accumulation, independent of diet and exercise habits. Your gut bacteria are deciding your belly fat, not just influencing it, deciding it. 7 habits determine what your bacteria are doing right now. Habit number 1. Not eating fermented foods every day. Look at cultures with consistently low obesity rates. Japan, Korea, Eastern Europe, Mediterranean countries. Every single one of them eats fermented foods daily. Not as a supplement, as regular food. Miso, kimchi, kefir, yogurt, sauerkraut. Not because they read about gut health, because it is just how they eat. Here is what those foods are doing inside their guts. Fermented foods contain live bacteria that directly populate your microbiome. Daily consumption increases the diversity and population of beneficial bacteria. Higher diversity is one of the strongest predictors of lower visceral fat. When beneficial bacteria thrive, they produce butyrate. Butyrate reduces gut inflammation, improves insulin sensitivity, signals fat cells to release what they have been holding. A study published in Cell found the following. Daily fermented food consumption for 10 weeks significantly increased microbiome diversity. Markers of gut inflammation dropped measurably, more than a high-fiber diet without fermented foods produced. Sarah added plain Greek yogurt and a small serving of kimchi to her daily meals. Nothing else changed. 6 weeks later, her bloating had reduced significantly. Her waist measurement started moving for the first time in months. Fix: 1 fermented food every single day. Yogurt with live cultures, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, miso, tempeh. Not the processed versions with added sugar. Plain, live culture versions. A small serving daily beats a large serving occasionally. Consistency is the entire strategy. Now, here is the habit that is quietly destroying those same bacteria. Most people think it is a smart swap. Habit number 2. Consuming artificial sweeteners. You switched from sugar. Diet soda. Sugar-free yogurt. Sweetener packets in your coffee. Feels like a win. Here is what is actually happening in your gut. Artificial sweeteners are not inert. Sucralose, aspartame, saccharin. All of them directly alter gut bacteria composition. They reduce populations of Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium, the 2 most beneficial species for belly fat reduction. At the same time, they increase bacteria associated with glucose intolerance. More insulin resistance, more belly fat from the same food. A study published in Cell found the following. Just 2 weeks of artificial sweetener consumption produced measurable changes in gut microbiome composition. Glucose tolerance worsened in healthy adults. The effects persisted after sweetener consumption stopped. You traded sugar for something that changes your gut bacteria. making your body worse at burning fat. Fix: replace artificial sweeteners with whole food sweetness. Whole fruit instead of sweetened drinks. Plain yogurt instead of artificially sweetened versions. Black coffee or tea instead of sweetener-added beverages. Your gut bacteria recover relatively quickly once the input stops. But here is something that feeds those bacteria in a way most people never think about. And it has nothing to do with probiotics or supplements. Habit number 3. Eating the same plants. Every week you eat healthy. Salad most days, some vegetables with dinner, fruit occasionally. But you eat the same 5 or 6 things every week. Here is why that is a gut health problem. Different bacteria species feed on different types of plant fiber. Each plant food contains a unique fiber profile. When you eat the same plants repeatedly, you feed the same bacteria repeatedly. Other species starve. Die off, diversity collapses. The American Gut Project studied this directly. People eating 30 or more different plant foods per week had significantly more diverse microbiomes, compared to those eating fewer than 10. Microbiome diversity is directly and inversely correlated with visceral fat. More diverse gut, less belly fat. Fix: count plant variety, not plant quantity. Herbs count, spices count. Different colored vegetables count as separate plant foods. Switching from one apple to apple plus pear plus berries is 3 plant types instead of 1. Same effort, 3 times the microbiome benefit. This single habit has more impact on microbiome diversity than anything else on this list. Now here is what might be starving your gut bacteria of the specific fuel they need. And most people have no idea how low their intake actually is. Habit number 4. Eating too little fiber. The average American eats 15 grams of fiber per day. Optimal for gut bacteria health is 25 to 35 grams. That gap is not a minor shortfall. It is the difference between bacteria that thrive and bacteria that slowly starve. Here is what fiber actually does inside your gut. When bacteria ferment fiber, they produce short-chain fatty acids. 3 specific ones matter most. Butyrate directly fuels the cells lining your gut. Less gut permeability. Less inflammation leaking into your bloodstream. Propionate signals your liver to reduce fat production. Acetate reaches your muscles and brain and reduces appetite. All 3 are directly anti-fat in their effects. When fiber is low, bacteria cannot produce enough. Gut inflammation rises. Insulin resistance worsens. Belly fat accumulates faster. A study published in Gut found the following. Fiber intake was inversely associated with visceral fat across multiple population studies, directly associated with short-chain fatty acid production and insulin sensitivity. Fix: add 1 high-fiber food per meal. Legumes, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts, seeds. Build toward 25 to 35 grams daily. Go gradually to avoid digestive discomfort. Now here is something that selectively feeds the most powerful belly fat-fighting bacteria. 2 specific species, and most people never eat their preferred fuel on purpose. Habit number 5. Not eating prebiotic foods daily. Every Mediterranean meal starts with garlic and onion. Every Asian stir-fry begins with the same base. Not because those cultures knew about Akkermansia muciniphila, just because that is how the food is made. But garlic and onion happen to be among the most potent prebiotic foods that exist. Here is why that matters. Prebiotics are specific fibers that selectively feed beneficial bacteria. Not all bacteria, specifically Bifidobacterium and Akkermansia, the 2 species most directly linked to lower visceral fat. Garlic contains inulin and fructooligosaccharides. Onion and leeks contain similar compounds. Asparagus, Jerusalem artichokes, and slightly underripe bananas are also highly prebiotic. Daily consumption grows the exact bacteria most protective against belly fat. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition found the following. Daily prebiotic consumption for 12 weeks significantly increased Bifidobacterium and Akkermansia populations. Visceral fat markers dropped measurably compared to a control diet. Fix: include at least 1 prebiotic food in every main meal, Garlic or onion cooked into almost anything counts. Raw or cooked, both forms provide benefit. This is the most targeted gut intervention for belly fat specifically. Now, here is something most people do without thinking that can wipe out months of microbiome progress in less than a week. Habit number 6. Taking antibiotics without a restoration protocol. You get sick, you take antibiotics, you feel better, you move on. But your gut does not move on as quickly. Antibiotics do not selectively kill harmful bacteria, they kill broadly. A single course can reduce gut microbiome diversity by up to 30%. Some species that are eliminated do not come back without deliberate reintroduction. This is why some people gain unexpected belly fat in the months after antibiotics, even without changing their diet. The bacteria managing their insulin sensitivity and fat burning are gone. And nothing has replaced them. A study published in Nature found the following. Antibiotic use produced significant and lasting reductions in gut microbiome diversity. Some species had not recovered to baseline levels even 6 months after treatment ended. Fix. This is not about avoiding necessary antibiotics. It is about having a protocol ready. During and after antibiotics, dramatically increase fermented food intake. Add a high-quality probiotic supplement during the course and for at least 4 weeks after. Increase fiber and prebiotic foods to fuel recovery. Your gut can rebuild well when given the right inputs immediately after exposure. And now for the final habit. This one produces the most direct belly fat reduction through gut bacteria. Most people have never heard of this specific mechanism. Habit number 7. Not eating resistant starch. In Japan, rice is often cooked, cooled, and eaten the next day. In Eastern Europe, cold potato salad is a staple. These traditions existed centuries before nutritional science, but they happen to produce one of the most potent gut health compounds available, resistant starch. Here is exactly what it does. Resistant starch resists digestion in your small intestine. It passes to your large intestine where gut bacteria ferment it. Specifically, it selectively and dramatically feeds Akkermansia and Bifidobacterium, the 2 species most directly protective against visceral fat. When these bacteria consume resistant starch, they produce butyrate in large quantities. Butyrate reduces gut permeability. Less permeability means fewer inflammatory compounds leaking into your circulation. Lower inflammation means better insulin sensitivity. Better insulin sensitivity means less belly fat. A study published in Cell Host and Microbe found the following. Resistant starch consumption significantly increased Akkermansia and Bifidobacterium populations. Visceral fat was measurably reduced over 8 weeks, independent of calorie intake changes. Same calories, more resistant starch, less visceral fat. Fix. Cook and cool your starchy foods before eating. Rice cooked and refrigerated overnight. Then reheated has significantly more resistant starch. Cold potato salad has more resistant starch than a hot baked potato. Cooked and cooled pasta retains more than freshly cooked pasta. Green bananas eaten slightly underripe are naturally high in resistant starch. You do not need to eat cold food. Refrigerating overnight and reheating still retains most of the benefit. The preparation method changes everything. 7 habits, all of them operating at a level most belly fat advice never reaches, inside your gut. Habit 1, what lean people do naturally. Daily fermented food consumption increases microbiome diversity and butyrate production, directly reducing gut inflammation and visceral fat. Habit 2, the common mistake. Artificial sweeteners reduce Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium populations, making belly fat accumulation more likely from the same diet. Habit 3, what lean people do naturally. Eating 30 or more different plant foods per week produces significantly higher microbiome diversity, directly correlated with lower visceral fat. Habit 4, the common mistake. Low fiber intake starves gut bacteria of their primary fuel, reducing short-chain fatty acid production and worsening insulin resistance. Habit 5, what lean people do naturally. Daily prebiotic foods like garlic and onion selectively feed Akkermansia and Bifidobacterium, the two bacteria most directly linked to visceral fat reduction. Habit 6. The common mistake. Antibiotics without a restoration protocol can reduce gut diversity by 30%, triggering months of increased insulin resistance and belly fat accumulation afterward. Habit 7. What lean people do naturally. Daily resistant starch from cooled cooked rice, potatoes, and legumes selectively feeds Akkermansia and Bifidobacterium, producing measurable visceral fat reduction independent of calorie changes. Here is what I want you to sit with. You have been trying to fix belly fat from the outside, counting calories, changing macros, adding workouts, but 38 trillion bacteria inside you are running their own program. That program is either helping you burn belly fat or quietly building it. You were not failing. You just did not know the program existed. Now you do. Pick one habit from this list. Start today. One thing. Which of these 7 surprised you most? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. If this changed how you think about your gut and your belly fat, subscribe to What Science Reveals. Real science explained clearly every single week. And if you want to see how eating habits and cooking habits connect to everything we covered today, those videos are right here. See you in the next one.